Yo, 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 welcome back to another episode of the Cookout here on Certified Gumbo. Happy
What's
weekend to
happening?
everybody.
What's going on?
Hey,
What's up?
man.
What's up?
First of all, I told y'all it was gonna happen. We
Hey, it
out
happened. Wait a
here.
second.
I
Wait a
got my
second.
lasers. Okay,
Got
you
the
see it?
laser.
Hey,
You
now
see it?
before,
Yeah,
can I
buddy.
go full screen or do we need to stay in this
Nah,
crouch?
you go full screen.
All right,
Hit
there we
that
go.
thing.
Boom.
Oh.
There we go. There we
Exactly.
go.
Just in case something happens, we might have to bring it back streamline.
Mm.
Just in case. I'm saying, but for right now, I'm good right here.
Word. That's what's up. That's
You
what's
get
up.
You see
Looking good. Looking good. Look, showcasing that technology.
it.
And the first time Amani gets it, I don't have mine. So
It's a
You
little-
know what I'm saying? Hey, this is just the balance of life.
I'm
you
out
know
of
what I'm
town
saying?
right now.
Beefing it up for y'all. Remember that? 2013.
Yeah, taking it
Posted
back.
in Wilmington. Shout out to Wilmington.
Shout out to the PC. Shout out to Seabreeze. You already know. Oh yeah, what's going on? How's y'all week?
I'm good.
Long week. It's been a long week. Pollen came. Me
Definitely.
and Pollen don't get along. I almost didn't make it tonight. My right eye
man.
been little all week.
the little
Right,
old
little.
It's been little. Forrest Whitaker out here. It's crazy.
Dag, man. Well, we're definitely glad you could make it. This is we always look forward to having the full force, the full brunt of the team on for these anytime we can. So I'm glad you kind of came around. You fought through it. MJ flu game, you know what I'm saying, or flu poisoning, whatever.
Yeah.
It's what type of performance you gonna have tonight.
Espresso and Red Bull.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that does the trick. Some saline solution, some eye drops, some nasal spray.
Shout out to Cetirizine. Shout out to Singulair. Shout out to Flonase. That should be the sponsor. I need to work on
about
the
to say,
allergy
like-
medicine sponsorship. Sponsored by Benadryl. Okay.
I got Zyrtec this season. Every season I have to switch it up because the brand I take the season before just doesn't work the following season.
Zyrtec is Cetirizine, 10 milligrams. You know, the off-brand works
Zyrtec puts me
fine.
out.
So shout out to Walgreens and CVS for their generic brands. I appreciate y'all. Most definitely.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
All right. Before we get into it, I gotta shout out a legend that passed yesterday, DMX. Very tragic
Get it,
news.
dog.
That was tough. That was rough. That was like a legend I grew up with, for sure. Very influential figure within pop culture, hip hop. I mean, just you always see that video of him at Woodstock with that sea of people that just never ended. Like the dude had like just a legendary career and life beyond rap. Also, he pretty much single-handedly saved Def Jam, and that's not something like we should ever forget. It was because it wasn't for X and what he was able to do with his career. Like, who knows what would have happened. So
Yeah.
shout out to
DMX,
him and
baby.
his family.
We're out here.
That was a big moment when he came out. I was in middle school.
Yeah,
That was-
for sure.
Yeah, that was a whole movement. DMX.
It
It was him and
also
Master P.
somebody
Everybody
said
was rocking him too.
that he kind of sort of filled that void that Pac left, and because of his energy and like his presence. Like he's one of the few artists that I felt early in my life. Like it's not even his, it's more than like the music itself. It's like I could feel his energy on the track, and like that was something that stood out to me about X. Like you could always feel the passion that he had for for the craft and for the people and for just the culture in general. Unless very very few people, very few artists are able to achieve that. And so like that always stands out to me about X.
Yeah, man, passion and pain. It's a good combo for an artist.
For sure. But in some lighter news, I got My friends Mark and Ebony got engaged just yesterday as well. So congratulations to them. I don't know if they knew.
Congratulations, Mark and Ebony.
I didn't tell them I was going to shout them out on the stream, but I did it anyway because I was excited. I saw the news break on Twitter. That was awesome. That was an amazing thing. So shout out to them. Congratulations. Also members of the community. So shout out to y'all, man.
Look over this TV back here on the big screen.
Yeah.
All right.
We got a hot mic back here. Hot mic.
Now let's get into this news. Imani, what we got?
Oh man, I lost it. What are we supposed to start with?
American Gods.
Yes, we start with American Gods. Well, they didn't say the word. StreamYard, get out of here. They didn't say the word canceled, but what they said was they're not picking it up for season 4. When we know what that means,
it's over. It's a wrap.
It's a wrap.
Get them out of here.
We spoke about it. I want to say before season 3 started last year, I mentioned that I was no longer watching the show. I loved seasons 1 and 2. I was hooked. I love how, they brought the gods from different cultures into just American life and, had these people living among us. I thought that was pretty dope, but they decided to remove Orlando Brown from the writing staff and from the cast. He played the character Anansi. He even directed a few episodes of the show. And
Orlando Jones or Orlando Brown?
Orlando Jones.
Not Orlando
Not Brown.
You know what? My sister's watching the She Girls downstairs, and it made me think of That's So Raven. Not that Orlando. We talking about Orlando Jones.
Deep.
Not him. But
that's wild right there.
They removed him from the writing staff and from the cast, and I'm sorry, but
why did they do that?
Stupid. There's really no good answer. But the showrunner said, creative differences, and that's not the direction that the show wanted to go in. He did reference and say that Anansi's character was not in those part of the books. American Gods is a series of novels. However, the way they did it was kind of messy. That's not what was originally said. That was the cleanup. And so, Orlando Jones didn't take it well. The fans didn't take it well. And a lot of people said that they were going to boycott. They were not going to watch the show unless they brought him back. And they continued the show without him. And those views were not there.
So I for people who don't watch the show, like myself, what made Orlando Jones's character so influential?
His monologues. They were powerful. They were inspiring. That's what the character was known for. The main character on the show is mixed, and Anansi kind of brought, checked him a little bit. I don't want to give away the show, but, was a void of, he filled a void of missing blackness for the rest of the show. And without him, although there were other Black gods and goddesses, in my opinion, they
were just Black and not Black American.
Yes. And Anansi, he was introduced on the show as just being a spider on a ship that was bringing slaves to America. And he transformed into Anansi the spider. So he transforms into his human self and, inspires the slaves to riot and destroy the ship. That's season 1. That might be season 1, episode 1 or 2, where you see that happen. So, he brought a Black American energy to the show. And I'm kind of sad that he's gone. I do know that they brought several other Black gods into season 3. And I kind of, now that they're going to cancel it, maybe I'll go back and watch it. But I don't know. I don't want them to get money off my viewership. So I got to figure out how to do that. But,
so they were strong Black male. We can't have that.
I guess.
Is that the case? Now, who is Anansi the Spider? What is that?
Anansi the Spider, it's a story that I read when I was young, but I can look up I searched it so much that Anansi American Gods popped up first.
That's not where the nursery rhyme came from, is it?
I believe so, yes.
Oh wow.
Anansi
Interesting.
the
Yeah, I
Spicer,
never knew that.
one of the great folk heroes of the world. He is a rogue mischief maker and a wise, lovable creature who triumphs over larger foes. In this traditional Ashanti tale, Anansi sets out on a long, difficult journey. Threatened by fish and falcon, he is saved by temple fates. Oh, this is from that's a book description that I'm reading. But he is a like they said, a folk hero, and it's a small but mighty foe. But in the show itself, he is more of a leader. I would say he is a troublemaker in that he might make you rethink a decision that you're about to make on the show. But for the most part, his character had some great inspiring monologues about being a Black American.
Okay. Sounds interesting. So, American Guys, isn't that a story from Neil Gaiman?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, and he was not the showrunner that made that decision. I don't know how much control he had over the show, but I know that it was up to the showrunner whether or not Orlando Jones stayed, and the showrunner is who removed him from the show. And
Creative differences.
That's what they said, but all I know is after all of this news, like I don't know why people are not taking the fans seriously. Like the fans said,
they don't respect the fans. They respect that dollar.
And right, and although there were some people on social media of other races who were unhappy with all of the negative attention that Orlando Jones firing was getting, like there were a lot of people who were like, so what, who cares? There were people who were not happy with how Black Anansi was on the show, but he was such a beloved character by everybody else, even people of other races, that of course he was there for season 2, but just a few people were unhappy with, and they took it off. And there were, like I said, people of other races who were mad that he was removed also. So I don't really get why they stuck with it, because his firing, we found out about that before they finished writing season 3, before they started filming season 3. So they had time to figure out something else, and they chose to stick with their guns, and now the show was canceled.
So sad. What has Orlando Jones said about it? Has he
I was
made
about
a
to say, I
public
remember
statement?
he's made a few comments, especially like initially after his firing, about like the creative differences. Like I might be okay. Well, I think he was saying something to the effect, basically like he felt like they weren't taking the character seriously enough, or he didn't feel like they were using the character to its full potential. That's what I took from his statements. Imani, you may have some more on that, but that's kind of sort of the gist of it. I can't remember verbatim what was said, but he did make some kind of he made some remarks about what went on behind the scenes. Because he, from what I gather, and what Imani was saying, like it wasn't the fans of the show that had an issue with the character, more or less. It was something else going on behind the scenes with the showrunners and the writers and all of that. Like that's what he implied. I think legally he didn't want to say too much, because I'd imagine that there may be some sort of legal battle going on behind the scenes, but who knows where that's gonna land now with the show not continuing.
That ain't going
So
nowhere.
he hasn't spoken out since the show has gotten canceled, but beforehand he did say that he did all of the writing for Mr. Nancy on season 2. He said when he showed up for filming and for table talks and all that for season 2, there was no script written for him. He had to write it all himself, because he had done a little bit of writing in season 1, and it turned into not only him having to write for himself, but he had to write for the other Black actors and the other actors of color as well, all the characters, because this show is not just a whole bunch of white gods with a sprinkling of colored, not color, excuse me, people of color. There's a mix of gods from all cultures on this show, and he basically was writing for the majority of the gods of color. And he was like, what the heck is this? And he kind of had to say like, yo, y'all need to come up with a plan for this. I can't just write all of this, without any, like, they didn't have any plan for these characters. They kind of just, write some monologues and we'll put them in there and that's it. But they had no storyline for these people. And season 3 comes around and he's not a part of it at all. And in fact, they were not going to make a statement about his character. The only reason why we know his character was not in season 3 was because he said something about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they were not going to say anything about Anansi being gone. It was just like, so y'all right, they were just gonna basically erase him and not tell us until we watched the show, and then that's when he made his statement about it.
These people? Who raised these people? Gracious, they everywhere. So sad. So sad.
He said a lot about it, so that's why I don't want to. It's kind of hard to abbreviate everything that he said about how he felt, but he did mention that they felt that the character was too black. So they got rid of him. But knowing that he was writing, because I will say the Gods of Color, they had slightly better writing in the second season. I liked the second season a lot. And now I know that that's because of him. But I'm a little nervous now to watch season 3, knowing that he wasn't a part of the writing anymore. And he is what made the writing so great. I didn't think it was solely on him to do, but yeah.
Well, I mean, I hope that he definitely deserves to land surprises, because like what's he working on now? Like, what's he got going on? Like, he should definitely be in more stuff, and I hope he's got something in the pipeline. Because I didn't watch the show, but I saw a lot of the scenes that he performed. I don't know if that was season 1 or 2, but they were very powerful. Like, his monologue, his dialogue was like, I don't understand why, as a creative and a story writer, as a writer, you would want to take such impactful scenes out of your content. Like, I know why, but at the same time, like, if you are a creative, like, this is type of dialogue that you want to have. Like, this is the type of content that you would want to push and have on your platform and in your content, because
there's different types of creatives,
right?
And like, the timing of it all made sense. Like, it worked. It would have elevated the show, in my opinion, and gotten a lot more people engaged and involved had they continued with it, and his vision for the character and what he was doing. I could totally see if, just based on, like, I mean, I'm talking about like a 1 to 2 minute long scene that I saw, if they had continued down that path with that character, man, that show could have been something special. Could have been something.
It could have been. I think the show is great, and I hope deep down inside they find a way to bring him back, bring the other cast back, and get some new writers in there, and just keep it going, because it was a great show.
This is on Amazon?
This is on Stars.
It's on Stars?
It's on Stars, and I binged watched. When I got into it, season 2 was already out, and I didn't stop. I watched season 1 to the end of season 2 straight through.
So what's it about?
Basically, it follows a man who's mixed, and he just gets out of jail, and he comes home, and his life is kind of turned upside down. He was expecting to have, someone there for him when he got out, and unfortunately he didn't anymore, and he's kind of just trying to figure things out. And a man basically asks him to drive for him, and you find out later that this man is more than just a man. I don't want to give away the show, because I just think seasons 1 and 2 are good enough to watch and not be angry if you don't get to watch season 3. Like, I'm not upset that I didn't watch season 3. But long story short, they're all of gods from different cultures are all alive and well and in different parts of America. Actually, I can say this, it was an episode, an Easter celebration, and different Jesuses from different cultures. Like, there was a white Jesus, a Chinese Jesus, there was a Mexican Jesus, although there was no black Jesus. And I personally felt like, how y'all not gonna have black Jesus?
There was no black Jesus?
That's what I said. I'm gonna rewatch that episode, but because
they had a Mexican Jesus.
They had a Mexican Jesus.
Yeah.
But the point was, like, any god that people believe in is real in this show, and they all communicate with each other. And there is a huge struggle with the gods because people are now turning away from their faith and they're leaning more on technology. So technology is a new god, right? They're the old gods that aren't as powerful as people thought that they once were, and now you have technology who is also powerful as a god. And there's different forms, different gods that technology takes. Like there's a gentleman called Mr. World, but they're kind of like a battle between the two, and they're the new gods are trying to destroy the old gods and get rid of them. So, and a lot of the just saying that, I sounded like my grandma.
That makes sense now that they got rid of Orlando Jones. If they had all those different ethnic Jesuses and didn't make a black Jesus. Yeah,
I don't think he was above the right in that day.
Where they mind it.
It was just, and I don't want to hype up that particular episode because it was just a small part of it. But my black self noticed there was no black. And I got a picture of black Jesus downstairs with little black cherubs, and his cherubs have parrot wings instead of white angel wings. They have beautiful colored parrot wings. So shout out to my black Jesus downstairs.
I don't know what a cherub is. But that's what's up.
In my house.
Is it a picture?
Yes, it's a painting.
You've
probably seen it before.
I've seen it. Yeah.
What's up? What's a cherub?
Imani,
what is a cherub?
The cherubs are the little naked babies with the wings. That's what they are. The little naked babies with wings.
All right.
So, and usually in art they're white, blonde-haired, blue-eyed babies, but in my house they're little chocolate babies with froze and parrot wings. And the black Jesus in the painting has locks.
But I've seen that painting before. That's a
classic.
I've seen that thing. Yeah, it is a classic painting.
Jesus Christ had dreads, so I'm gonna shake mine.
Oh man. Yeah, so that's it on is that it on American Gods? We're gonna move.
That's it on American Gods. As of right now, it has not been renewed for season 4. There are talks of a possible TV movie. But they'd be better off not making anything unless Orlando Jones is in it. I mean, that's why the season didn't do well. Even bad shows, if bad shows get a lot of ratings, they get renewed. Bad movies, they get a lot of views and make a lot of money, get renewed for a sequel. If they don't have anybody watching, it's just not happening. Thank you, Coop Daddy Yoda. Thank you, Mrs. Cooper, also for the green screen shout out. I'm very excited.
I like that background. That background.
I told y'all I was
definitely fly.
I told y'all I was gonna have lasers, and I brought lasers. If you type in a picture of whatever you want, and then you type in wallpaper on Google, you're gonna get what you need.
Yeah, that is a fly background. That's a fly background. Very, it fits your personality. I would say. Yep. So definitely fits. Carol, welcome, everybody. Also, too, just to let it, because I forgot to mention up at the top, we are streaming currently on 3 different platforms. We are streaming on YouTube, Twitch, as well as Facebook simultaneously live. So, if you got friends that are following us on those platforms, let them know. If YouTube isn't your preferred platform, we are also now streaming from those as well simultaneously. So yeah, that's that on that. We're excited about this feature that we can now do this. Also, next topic, our favorite web slinger.
Yes, I just found this out, and I'm crazy excited.
See, I've known about this rumbling for a little minute, but I haven't said anything because of nothing concrete has come out on it, but there's a lot more. It's making a lot more headway now, and that
Miles
is
Morales coming to the big screen.
No,
Tobey McGuire
coming back for a Spider-Man 4 film from his trilogy, because the director, so of course we already know he's going to be a Spider-Man No Way Home. And we're going to get to see Tobey McGuire and Andrew Garfield bring back their Spider-Man characters. It's now rumored that Tobey Maguire Spider-Man is going to be in the
Far
Doctor
From Home.
Strange Multiverse of Madness. And that film is directed by Sam Raimi, who is the same director of the original Spider-Man trilogy. And so now, since it'll be his first time working as Spider-Man with Sam Raimi again in Multiverse of Madness, there's on the table now that they could potentially do a Spider-Man 4 film with Tobey Maguire and Sam Raimi again in the MCU.
I'd rather see Tom Holland or Miles Morales. Like Toby had his time.
I don't think this would mean that they're out. I think it would just mean, I mean, we already know the timeline is about to go crazy.
The
But
Spider-Verse.
if they're doing a movie with
happening.
him, then that means somebody got to take a back seat, and somebody's production is getting delayed.
Not necessarily. That's from what I understand. That's not what's happening at all. Like they're moving forward with 3 versions of Spider-Man: Tom Holland, Tobey Maguire, and Miles Morales. And Miles Morales
At the same time.
Miles Morales is supposed to be introduced in the upcoming Spider-Man film, which will lead into his own solo project. But for some added context, before the reboot of Spider-Man that Sony did with Andrew Garfield, who's also rumored to be appearing as well in the No Way Home, right?
No Way Home.
Right.
Was all these
It's not
different
Far From Home. Yeah.
It's No Way Home.
So these casting rumors go back at least a year now, and it was reported that Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire, and Tom Holland could of course Tom Holland is his movie, but all 3 of them could be appearing in this next Spider-Man movie. Like they're going to do like a Spider-Verse, and Disney and Sony are working out some magic deal to have Sony's Spider-Verse and the MCU kind of birthed throughout this movie, and then it would allow for Sony to go and do like movies like the Sinister Six, also have its own version of Spider-Man, whether that be Tobey Maguire or it be Miles Morales. Tom Holland would be the split. They would share Tom Holland equally, like Sony and Marvel would share Tom Holland. But this would allow Sony, as long as they want to keep Tom Holland as Spider-Man. But the thing is, for Sony, like they want to have a Spider-Verse, and so the compromise is for them to use the multiverse to bring in Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield's versions of Spider-Man, while also introducing Miles Morales. We've seen the success with the Spider-Verse animation, as well as the movie, or not the movie, but the video game for PlayStation that came out, like with Miles Morales featured as the main character. Those both were very, very successful for Sony, which has, basically given them sort of kind of a green light to go ahead and pursue this Spider-Verse, which is why they're introducing the characters from multiple Spider-Man properties, both the Tobey Maguire property as well as the Andrew Garfield property. Like all of these villains that we've seen in these movies are supposed to appear in some form or fashion in this new Spider-Man movie, as well as some new ones. So this movie is going to be crazy.
This is a lot of Spider-Mans all at once.
Yeah, this movie
is feeling like the Batman problem. It's too many Batmans.
I did think that.
But if you think about it, it's going to be a lot. It's basically just going to be the live action version of the Spider-Verse movie with Miles Morales. It's the same concept. Concept.
With Tobey Maguire? I just feel like Tobey Maguire, like his time has passed. Ain't he like 40, 50 something?
But he would be the OG Spider-Man. Like he would be the mentor Spider-Man of all the Spider-Mans.
When have we seen the mentor Spider-Man?
Into the Spider-Verse.
Into the Spider-Verse.
The animated.
It's literally the same concept. It's just in live action.
Okay, so that's Tobey Maguire then.
That would be his role, basically.
and then Andrew Garfield.
Andrew Garfield.
Andrew
Hi,
Garfield.
Andrew McGuire.
Andrew Garfield would be one of the other ones, and then of course Miles Morales. But the
On top of
Spider-Man, Tom Holland would be the main focus in that
Yeah,
film.
because Tom Holland is going to be the link between the MCU and the Spider-Verse. Like, it's going to be a crazy, crazy film. Very ambitious project for Sony and for Disney, as well as like the multiverse of Madness. Like both of these movies are going to be insane.
If they bring back Tobey McGuire, they need to bring back William Dafoe as Green Goblin.
Yeah, he's
That's got to be
role
automatic. They don't do
Green
it.
Goblin.
There's going to be a lot of people from the like a lot of the villains from the older films are going to be back because aren't they building up the Sinister Six?
The Sinister Six are going to be introduced in this movie as well.
Yeah.
And they're using all of the character, like all the actors that played these characters in the previous films are reprising their roles in this movie.
Now is what's my
Doc
man's
Ock
name?
is
Tom
coming back.
Hardy. Is Tom Hardy going to pop up as Venom?
He possibly, but he is the
Or is it
Venom
the-
for the Spider-Verse. So if
Yeah, because
if
they had
Venom
the
pops
old
up,
Venom.
he is going to be the version of Venom that they run with.
I
So
don't
it won't be
expect-
the guy from the '70s show.
No. Tom Hardy has been locked into a Venom deal with Sony. So like he is the Venom moving forward. So if Venom pops up, it's going to be Tom Hardy and not anyone else.
Can I just say, William Dafoe will only ever be Green Goblin. Like when I see him in other films, I'm like, yo, what's Green
He's Green
Goblin
Goblin.
here?
Have y'all seen The Lighthouse?
Yeah,
That will change your mind.
The Lighthouse.
Yeah, you see that movie and there's no Green Goblin. It's just crazy old man.
I haven't, but I'll check it out.
Lighthouse is crazy. Spider-Man. Ah.
He ain't checking it from Facebook.
Hey, what up?
Yep.
Crack is whack. I
That's
know.
a good message.
Crack is whack.
It will
Don't
definitely
smoke
is.
it.
Definitely good message.
Don't smoke it.
I
But
didn't
yeah,
distract from the Venom conversation with my William Dafoe comment.
no, but I mean, so yeah, all of these Willem Dafoe, who I forgot who played Doc Ock. He's also going to reappear and reprise his role as
We're gonna have Jamie Foxx back as Electro.
Jamie Foxx is coming back.
Hey,
as
bring
Electro.
Jamie back. No.
Yeah, like I mean, so villains from all three versions of the Spider-Man that we've gotten in live action will be appearing in, and what's
I feel like that's a 50-50. Like they're gonna be appearing as in
They are going to be in
10-second screen time,
No,
or like
they're supposed
we getting
to
a
be
full
like
20 minutes of like in and out of these universes. Boom,
main
bam.
antagonists.
Yeah,
Like,
they're
this is the
Sinister
formation of the
Six
Sinister Six throughout this
are
movie.
the
So
yeah.
this movie, the main antagonist for this movie is the Sinister Six.
Yep.
This is verified.
This is what has been rumored for over a year
Well,
now.
we know that
Rumored.
they've been
Okay.
casted to be,
And they've also been
film.
cast. Like, yeah, these actors who played these characters have also been cast in the movie. But Marvel has not made an official statement that they're appearing in the movie as the characters that we know they've played.
Oh my gosh, what if I'm speculating and we're all wrong?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like it could totally not be this full Sinister Six. And I feel like this isn't the movie to have Sinister Six as the antagonist. You could probably introduce the possibility of them forming, but you know,
So
I feel like
let's-
that's for a whole nother movie.
I wouldn't cast them at all then if that's the case. But they've already cast them and they're in Atlanta right now filming.
well, let's just say
Mhm.
JVM is right. We know that there's gonna have to
I
be
be
a
right.
huge villain.
I be
Oh my
knowing.
goodness.
Yeah,
There's
like
gonna
if
have to be
they're
a huge
not
villain to have all three Spider-Man be in the film, and we know Andrew Garfield's stunt double has been on set for this film, so we know at least Andrew Garfield has action scenes.
he signed early. Toby's the one that has had the longest contract negotiation thus far.
That's
In
because
the
he said,
process.
"I want my check."
Yeah,
Y'all-
and I
Wasn't
think
Toby causing some static on set or something like that?
Who said that?
We talked about it. It was either in Discord or on one of these shows. Somebody mentioned Toby was being difficult.
I didn't hear that, but I wouldn't be surprised if Toby was like, "Nah, y'all gonna have to pay
he
me."
was. Yeah, he was not. He didn't sign the first contract that was presented. Like he's stalled. He's been negotiating since for a couple months now. Like because it was rumored that he was supposed to sign by December. Like he was going to be locked in by December. That didn't happen. They were still negotiating in December. But now the news that this Spider-Man 4 is coming out with him as, you know, the Spider-Man, continuing the vision of Sam Raimi had for the character. Because Sam Raimi said that he was working on a script for 4, but before, instead of greenlighting it, he didn't feel comfortable with the development of the script at that point. So he told Sony to go ahead and reboot the series and you know, go ahead with Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. So they did the Andrew Garfield movies.
The vision of Sam Raimi for the character, because Sam Raimi.
What is going on?
Sorry, I think that was my fault.
Okay.
So this Tobey McGuire movie, is that supposed to introduce Miles Morales live action?
No.
Was that the setup?
Nope. No Way Home.
No, the Spider-Man No Way Home is doing that.
Miles Morales.
So why are we getting Tobey McGuire? Just because?
We're getting all of the Spider-Man.
Yeah, they want all the versions.
Tobey Maguire Spider-Man and the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man and the Tom Holland Spider-Man
They're
are
all getting a movie?
They're going to be in this movie together.
No, I mean separate movies. So Tobey's getting a movie. 4. No, Spider-Man 4.
As of right now, no one's talking about an Andrew Garfield movie. The only
he's just
movie talking about Andrew Garfield being in
as Spider-Man in this movie.
I'd rather see Andrew Garfield than Tobey. He younger.
Dang, what happened? What's wrong with? I mean,
Tobey had his run. He had 3 movies, and that was in 1993. Come on.
That was not in.
I'm exaggerating. It wasn't 93.
The first one came out in 2002.
Yeah,
but
he's too old, man. He's old.
I mean, they all get
like
old at some point.
People have been asking for him to come back as Spider-Man for years.
Let him just, you know, show up in No Way Home, right? And then that's, you know, we're good. A whole nother movie.
I don't think like they would. The fans would be rioting if he only showed up in this movie, because I know how much they've been demanding him to pop up as Spider-Man and to come back as Spider-Man. Like if they only tease him for this movie, that would be worse than him like not even being
I don't
there.
Think so. I think they would appreciate him popping up.
Do you remember what it was like seeing that movie in 2002?
Yeah. I mean, he's my favorite Spider-Man, but, you know, he's had 3 movies. That was his time. You know, it's Tom Holland and Miles Morales' time now. Let's focus on that. That's my POV anyway.
I feel you. I understand.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to him coming back as Spider-Man, and I would definitely see the Spider-Man 4 movie with him in it. I would definitely see that. Because, like, I mean, we're getting all of the movie because Sony's plan is to build out the Spider-Verse. So we'll see, and even Andrew Garfield is still on the table to get a solo movie because they know they didn't finish out his trilogy as well. So, like,
I'd rather see his first. And
we're going to see Tom Holland movies. We're going to see Garfield. We're going to see Maguire again reprise his role for at least one movie, and then Miles Morales. All these versions of Spider-Man will not only appear in No Way Home, but they're going to get their own movies too.
I also wouldn't be surprised if we don't.
These are going to be Sony movies. These are not Marvel movies, so it's not like it's pushing out production schedules, like because it's coming from Sony Studios. Only this movie is the No Way Home is the Marvel movie.
I also wouldn't be surprised if we don't get a Miles Morales movie just a second, because Sony is still working on Into the Spider-Verse, which made a lot of money even though it was animated. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's their main Miles Morales focus right now, as far as solo films go.
That will definitely I'd rather see that Gwen first.
The Spider-Woman, Gwen from that's her name, right? Gwen, the white and black suit.
Yeah, Gwen Stacy.
I'd rather see her in a movie than Tobey McGuire.
That's Sony's plans. Sony's plans to build up the Spider-Verse. So all the versions of Spider-Man,
all the Spider-Mans.
Yes,
you get a
and
Spider-Man.
their villains.
You get a Spider-Man.
Yeah, that's Sony's plan, and that's what they've been negotiating with Disney. And so this is their plan because it allows Disney and Sony to share Tom Holland, which is the more popular Spider-Man right now, and then Sony also gets to do Miles Morales movies as well as Tobey McGuire. So they get to do a lot of fan service, and they can build their own cinematic universe while sharing Tom Holland with Marvel, and have some potential crossover whenever they feel
I just want to say
it necessary.
we shouldn't say anything about Batman now.
I was about to say, I think we can, because they are making
Absolutely
good
not.
movies. I think the problem comes in because my beef with DC is that they're making a lot of movies and a lot of them are not good.
But what Batman movies have they made that are bad?
Batman versus Superman was bad.
That was a Batman movie.
That wasn't a Batman movie.
That was a Batman movie.
Batman versus Superman.
That was a Batman
It was
Superman.
Batman versus Superman is a Batman movie, and it was bad. And then, I mean, it's great that the Snyder Cut was out, but the original Justice League movie led with Batman, and that was bad.
The only two versions,
we now know the story about that.
The only two versions of the only
was,
two versions of the Batman that we've gotten in the DCEU is the Ben Affleck version of Batman. He's the only version of Batman that's currently in the DCEU. The Nolan stuff is not a part of the DCEU canon. That story does not even count towards their. That's just a completely solo thing. Just like what they're doing with Pattinson. Like that story is not a part of their cinematic universe. So like,
yes, now it is. They're expanding it. That's gonna be Earth 2's Batman.
That's Earth 2. That Earth 1 is the DCEU. So like that's so.
But the same with Spider-Man. You got Toby. You got Tom. Like what? They from the same Earth?
They're technically all there. So Earth 616 and these other not dimensions, what's the word? Universes are now coming together because time is getting messed up.
So they from different Earths then.
Characters are going to be like, the difference is
alternate.
These are alternate timelines, but the same planet. Like what DC is doing, they just making movies, and now they got to figure out how to make it make sense to the fan.
Yeah, DC,
it's the same thing. If you got a different Earth, different timeline, it's the same.
No, because they're not connected. Like it's.
But I'm saying right now they're building it for it to be connected.
That's not what they said at the DC Dome.
Check in Discord the most recent article I sent on the Pattinson Batman.
So my beef with that
Isn't Jeff Johns is still involved with that too.
I have no idea.
So like, no, I'm good.
Yeah, if Jeff Johns is writing that, then I'm a little worried.
He's involved. Like he's doing everything behind the scenes for DC. So like I'm not with it. Yeah, he is their Feige. Like he's the one that's pulling the strings behind the scenes. Like he's the one that's pulling the trigger on all of these stories.
My beef
as well as the TV
is that they're making a lot of films that are not connected to each other that don't make sense. That's my beef. Like on top of the Batfleck, who it's a little iffy right now. They have the Batman movie, which there's actual quotes and articles and actual interviews from DC behind the scenes saying, yo, like we're not continuing with this more. It's not related with this anymore. It's not related to anything. They go back and they change it. That's cool. But the back behind the scenes discombobulation that's messing me up with DC. I'm actually very excited for the Batman movie. What makes me angry is there's no sequel planned right now. Like they're giving us this movie and they've already told us that, we're not going to continue with it.
No, they're doing 3 parts to this movie now. They're planning to do 3 with Pattinson.
After they already told us, after they already signed them in the media.
Was in that link I shared in the Discord.
I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read it later. I got you.
I don't see Jeff Johns credited for this Batman either. Not as a screenplay writer or director.
Oh, that's why it's not part of the DCEU.
Yeah, Matt Reeves is directing. Matt Reeves, Peter Craig, Mattson Tomlin, Bill Finger are writing the screenplay. Yo, they got Bill Finger? What? So Bill Finger was like the original, if I'm remembering that name right, he was the original creator of Batman. I might be wrong.
That makes me more excited for
Bill
Batman.
Finger that name sounds super familiar. We shall see. see.
I think I'm excited for the Batman movie. I'm not excited for. I'm not even excited for the DCEU because they are still anti-Snyderverse.
Yeah,
Like that's the
that's
type of
crazy.
stuff that irks me. Now I will say I do feel you, JBM. That does sound like a whole lot of Spider-Man. And what we appreciated about Marvel originally is that they're giving a lot of these a lot of newer, not newer, but lesser known heroes some shine. But technically, now that they have to merge the Fox universe and the Sony universe with the MCU, we're probably gonna see some repeat heroes for a while. Like they're gonna have to figure out how to get the X-Men in there. We're gonna see the Fantastic Four. We already know that they've had a film. So I think for a minute, although they are planning the Eternals and they have other new people on the horizon, we're gonna see some pockets of repeat Marvel characters just for a bit until they get back on whatever track they're planning.
I've heard some really good things about the Eternals, but it's pretty much speculation, so I won't share. But like I've heard some really, really good things about that movie.
Oh, what is it? What is it?
Like,
let us know.
Just the. I have to put it because I need to pull the articles. I'm not going to misquote anything, but like I've heard some really, really exciting things about how that movie is going to go. I think it's going to catch a lot of people by surprise because they're not well known and the story's not well known, but the plot is very, very interesting, and it's different from what we've gotten with Marvel thus far. In a good way. Like Marvel's continuing to diversify the stories it tells through with its characters, and for me, that's an exciting aspect of the MCU expanding into not only more movies but into Disney Plus as well. And like, I think hopefully they will start to tell a little more of that dynamic stories on Disney Plus, because it's going to be very difficult, in my opinion, to do the X-Men without having a series in live action. Because like there's so many characters in the X-Men universe that you can't give them just universe. You can't give them they're just doing just movies. Like we've seen that format before. Give us a live action show on Disney Plus that we can talk about.
I need to see Mr. Sinister.
Yeah, like like all of these characters, as well as the Fantastic Four to some degree, because the Fantastic Four universe and all of the characters surrounding them is very expansive. So
did I tell y'all I rewatched the Fantastic Four, the one with Michael B. Jordan, a couple weeks ago?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
still terrible.
It's still awful. It's worse. No, it's worse now. It's really bad.
Is it worse than Batman vs Superman? I feel like it is.
Yes.
Yeah, Batman vs Superman is not that bad. It's bad, but it's not like that. That was horrible. That was atrocious. Yeah, that was like that was more or less like the Whedon cut of Justice League. Bad.
Why can't they get Fantastic Four?
No, I'd rather watch the Whedon cut than to rewatch. Yeah, I would rather watch the Whedon cut. I'm sorry. The Whedon cut is better than that Fantastic Four film. I would argue that the Fantastic Four film is the worst.
You're probably right.
The worst Marvel or DC film to come out within the last 15 years. It's that bad.
Like every Fantastic Four
movie. Within the 15 years.
It's worse.
I think the first Fantastic Four movie was okay.
Silver Surfer.
That wasn't the first one. That was the sequel.
Much better than
the first one. The first movie that they did with Fantastic Four was that's the best one that they've done. It wasn't the greatest, but it was the best one that they've done thus far. Yeah. Have y'all seen Invincible?
Invincible. I started watching it.
I've heard some good things about that.
It's an adult superhero cartoon show. It's not bad. I watched the first episode. No cheese in it. No cheese present.
We'll come back to that because that's a part of the community discussion. I just thought about that.
It's bloody too.
Real quick before we get on to the next topic, Amazon Prime has a lot of great shows.
Amazon Prime content is like top tier.
They're killing it, and in fact, it's
That's all I watch nowadays.
Yeah, it's out there. I will say there's actually a show that I considered watching so that we could review on this channel, but I just decided I wasn't interested in watching Black Pain right now. But there's a show called Them. It's about a Black family that moves into a white neighborhood during the 50s, and their white neighbors
That's
are
out now.
it. And it's out now. I think they just had episode 5. It's a sci-fi show. There's some supernatural stuff going on, but their neighbors are going out of their way to remove them. But it's by Lena Waithe, and I believe one of the producers of Us is involved. I've heard good things. I just, for my well-being, didn't want to watch that right now.
I got a text this morning. Somebody recommended that I watch it.
Yeah.
Is it a bit like Lovecraft Country, I heard, right?
I haven't heard that. I've heard that it's similar as far as scheme, but just the clips that I've seen, it doesn't look like the same thing.
Yeah, that's
Really? It don't remind you of the when they were in the house and had the neighbors and all that?
I got by.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that from what I've seen, like Lovecraft Country, there was a lot of magic involved with the Black family themselves. From what I've seen of them, the magic was on the other side, but I didn't watch the show, so I don't know. But I would say Them could technically be Amazon Prime Video's Lovecraft Country.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I've heard it's like if you mix like Get Out, Us, and Lovecraft Country, that's basically them.
Yeah, see, all 3 of those stressed me out. Like I don't need a combo right now.
Everyone who I know who's watched it or has just started watching it, like that's the comparison that they draw. Like they're like it's basically those 3 movies, kind of sort like it's clearly drawing inspiration from those 3 movies in the show Lovecraft Country.
Also,
elements of it, not it's not like they just cut copy paste each of those, but it's like you can see how those properties influence this.
I also have not forgiven Lena Waithe for Queen and Slim.
Oh man.
I haven't seen that movie yet, but I can imagine it's like a Romeo and Juliet type ending.
I didn't see the ending.
It's not, but
I never finished watching that either. That was
I think Mark and
Louise,
I wasn't ready.
They drive off a cliff or something.
It's just I don't want to give it away. I would rather you watch it for yourself and report back.
Yeah, I mean, I really didn't get far, so I can't really comment on it because I didn't.
I'm upset that I did. I'll just put it that way.
Finish it.
I don't know if I can call. I don't know. I'm in a space where I don't want to call Black creators' projects bad, but I did not like that. That's what I will say. I did not like some of the creative decisions.
I mean, if it's bad, it's bad. Like
they don't get a pass.
Yeah, if it's bad, it's bad. That's just how.
They were just
out to the sponsor Blue Moon.
You don't have to like overly criticize and bash it to oblivion, but like you don't have to pretend or act like it isn't bad.
There were a couple of editing decisions that make entirely no sense to me, and I don't understand what the purpose was.
It's a critique. Think about it. It's just a critique. You're just critiquing it. Like
y'all probably haven't seen the scene that I'm thinking of in my head, which is why I don't want to tell you. I would rather you watch it so we can talk about it. But if you have seen Queen and Slim, there is a scene that is edited crazy, and I can't particularly understand why adults would do that. Why adults would edit the scene that way? It
boggles the mind.
It's
adults. Interesting. How far in is this scene?
It's closer to the end of the film. But basically it follows Queen and Slim is about a couple who meet on a first date, and they have an encounter with police on their first date, and after their first date they are on the run, and they are traveling basically to hide away and to stay safe, and the Black community is supporting them throughout this. And
well, update on them. Lena Waithe is currently trending on Twitter because of the detailed racial violence depicted in the show. So
See, and
it's very
that's
controversial, apparently. Like
so,
people are talking about. And I've heard these discussions.
Is it like shock value violence?
yes, and she did that in Queen and Slim, and I can reference our previous
Oh
conversation that we
God.
had with Lou on the show when we spoke about Lovecraft Country. The makers of Lovecraft Country made sure that Black people were not suffering when we watched this show. They made sure that in no
Until the
episode would
end.
there be more loss of Black life than there would be of white life. They wanted us to be able to watch this show and not be in too much pain. The hardest episode to watch was that Tulsa episode, in my opinion. But other than that, they kind of eased it on us a little bit. Lena Waithe does not do that in her project. She absolutely did not do that in Queen and Slim. Like I said, there's an editing decision that was made where she's going back and forth in between two different things that are happening at the same time, and she's cutting back and forth between one another. It doesn't make any sense, and it is hard to watch as Black people. Like, why
I feel like
do you
I know
want
what that is. Ugh.
and I'm not surprised that that's happening on them. And the way that the show was advertised, like on Lovecraft Country, there were a significant amount of Black actors and actresses. From the ads for this show, you see this Black family and a neighborhood full of white people. And that's what made me say, for my well-being, I'm not going to watch this. I need to stay sane, and that's not going to give it to me. Yeah. But hearing that Lena Waithe is trending because of a decision like that, I'm not surprised. Not at all.
So right now it's like it's peaking at like 10,000 tweets. I hadn't clicked on the trend on the topic, but it's like at like 10,000 tweets right now. So whatever it is, it's definitely controversial, and it's got a lot of people talking. So
let's get some shows about Black folks in the future. So, you know what I mean?
Like, why can't Black people be happy? Why can't I understand that race is a big topic. We can't ignore it. When we wake up, we are Black. Like, I remember my decision for going to A&T, or not my decision for going to A&T, but something I recognized while I was there was at A&T, I didn't have to be a Black girl. I was just a girl. I was just a student like everybody else. My race wasn't something that I had to think of when I was on campus. I was just existing. Not to say that I was not existing with a bunch of Black people. I recognize that, but I didn't have to alter who I was or who I am because I was Black on campus. Like,
you don't stand out,
right?
You don't stand out. Like, it's the first time in my life, A&T. Like, that's the first time in my life that I didn't feel like I stood out. Like, I could just be, and it's an experience that you can't really put a value on. Because even if you don't know how much that affects you going into it, once you're there, you instantly like notice how that feels and how good that feels. Like, it's a weight lifted, really. Like, you don't have to worry about perception. Is not an issue as far as the color of your skin, and that is a burden that it lifted being there. Like, all I had to do was perform. All I had to worry about was being the best student I could be. Like, I didn't have to worry about, am I going to be like, I didn't have to worry about going into classroom, worry about what the professor's racial history or motivations may or may not be. You know what I'm saying? Like, living in the South, like, you see a lot of Confederate flags, and you see like you see teachers in high school, middle school, they like Confederate flags maybe on their bumper sticker on their cars and stuff like that, and you kind of like, that stuff makes you question how they look at you. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so to not have that is like it's a huge burden lifted.
Front Row Couch has a statement on them. He says, enough with the Black folks torture porn. Them is a hard pass. I'm done with these types of films and shows. There are so many Black stories that no one is telling that show Black excellence and success. I agree.
I feel you, man. I feel you. You want to watch some Black pain, go watch Rosewood or something.
Yeah, it's
You know,
We've had enough of those films. Like
I'm tired.
that's been a huge gripe of our community for a long time. Like we've always
Addicted
said
to
and
it.
felt like because we didn't have the representation in the writing room and when these projects happen, like this black pain and this torture porn, to his point, is like the only thing that we ever saw ourselves in for a long time. And like so it kind of it's like it's a slap in the face in many ways when you get more black creatives in these rooms and they continue to crank out this material, and it's like, why? Like,
Well,
you
it's
have
also
an
what's getting
opportunity.
funded. You know,
Yeah, it's like you got an opportunity to like show us in a better light. Like, say what you will about Atlanta, but like I felt someone said that Atlanta is like black people just existing, and like it
yeah,
feels good because you
it's
don't
black
have to
people
worry
Seinfeld.
about. Yeah, it's like yeah, exactly.
You know,
It's
it's
Seinfeld.
Seinfeld.
It's like living single. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like everything that, from especially like the black shows that we got in the '90s was such a breath of fresh air because like you watch those and you just felt like you could relate to all of them, and you didn't have to worry about watching these shows and something would happen, and then now I gotta like think about this in a negative light. Like, it was, we need more of that stuff. Like, you kind of in times like this, you do need that antithesis of whatever is going on in the world. Like, sometimes, yes, we do need that reality check. We do need to know the truth of certain situations, but we also need the other side of the coin where we can laugh and just enjoy seeing ourselves on screen. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't need to watch a show and worry about what's going to happen to this black character.
Yeah, there's a another movie that's coming out. If it's not out now, it's coming out on Netflix, starring Joey Badass. Let me see if I can look up the name of the movie real fast. But it's about a gentleman. It's kind of like Groundhog Day, who wakes up and he's living the same day every time he wakes up. It's about a gentleman who spent a night with a young lady, and when he wakes up to go home to his dog, he gets killed by a police officer as soon as like he steps out of that building. And when he dies, he wakes back up in the bed. And it happens over and over and over again with the same police officer over and over again, just maybe a different manner of the conversation. But he keeps dying and waking back up to police violence. And although I've been struggling as to whether or not I want to watch the film, because I don't want to judge things without seeing them. I wonder what value is watching that going to bring to me, watching a black man die on screen over and over and over again. Like,
Yeah,
I
got
don't even
YouTube
want to
for that.
watch these trials. I already had to watch George Floyd pass on TV. And now my mom is watching the trial and I have to listen to that every day. I don't even want to hear that. And that's real. Why would I want to watch fiction like that?
I'm not watching that trial.
Yeah. same with the trial. Like,
Why couldn't they do something like Russian Doll? You know, she got hit by a car over and over.
here's the thing too. Like, okay,
Y'all seen
Jordan
that?
Peele
Russian Doll, same premise. She dies.
in his
Relive the
version
same night.
of when he did the Twilight Zone reboot, he had an episode that sounds exactly like what you're describing, but it was the way it was executed was better. Like, it was easy to digest because the plot was different. Like, same situation, same kind of scenario, but it wasn't as violent as probably this movie sounds like it is. But it's about execution. Like, if you're gonna do this, like, there has to be some hope. There's got to be some optimism sprinkled in. Like, and the resolution has to also, it has to be a win. And in that episode, it is like the way it's resolved. Like, it just makes it's a good to me. I like that episode. It was a good episode to me. Like, just because of how it was executed, it could have been way worse than what it was. But the way Jordan Peele handled it in the show, like, I think he's also one of those directors and creatives that understands like how we perceive violence in our community and on other African Americans on film and in other creative content. Like, he has a level of awareness, and other creatives as well. Like, you got to go into it with a level of awareness of how given what's going on in the world,
Last night.
Sorry.
like how all of that can affect us and affects the viewers. Like, you know, at the end of the day, what's the takeaway? Like, what is the benefit of us seeing this? Like, what's the message behind it?
So the name of the film is Two Distant Strangers. It is now on Netflix, and it is a short film. It's 32 minutes, and it is Oscar nominated, as all Black trauma films usually are.
Yeah, torture porn.
So, but 30.
Well,
It's that black the black struggle porn. Like, it's crazy. Like, it's not appealing to us. Like, exposure is one thing, but like to have this be the dominant genre is like ridiculous. Like, it's just ridiculous. But
yeah, man, we lacking
moving
imagination and funding. Yeah, moving on. What's next? Loki.
yeah, did everybody see that trailer?
Yeah, I like the tone. I like the color in it.
Yeah,
I like the pace. Seems like it'll be good.
I'm looking forward to this series. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, that trailer really put me, and it came out after episode 3 of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which I didn't like as much as the previous two. Episode 4, by the way, we did a review on that yesterday. That's out on the channel. Go check that out. Much improved. I like that episode a lot. But that trailer for Loki came out this week, and I was like, "Yo, this series is gonna be something." In my opinion,
I'm excited.
Like
I'm excited to see Owen Wilson.
Yeah, like everything that
Dude's funny.
this could. I think the dynamic between Tom Hiddleston and Owen Wilson is that you got a gem there. If the dialogue and the writing is well, because the way they could potentially play off each other in this series, it could be like spot
The
on.
dialogue is gonna be, general,
Yeah.
like generic. It's gonna be,
I don't think so.
excited.
Not with
Yes.
Owen Wilson and Tom Hiddleston. Like, I can't see them not having some improvisation and them leaning into their personalities a bit, in injecting that into these characters.
Yeah.
We know Tom Hiddleston does, like, and I can't see Owen Wilson not doing the same as well. Like, they're going to have to play off each other.
Loki
Yeah,
is the one villain, the one Marvel villain that I just could never hate. Well, besides Killmonger, but like even all the bad stuff Loki did, I still like Loki. He's just always been lovable, even though he was doing a whole bunch of terrible stuff. And I'm hyped to see him in his own show.
Yeah.
Also,
Loki's biggest thing, Loki, primarily his flaw is his selfishness, but you can also
He's a sociopath.
understand. You can also understand his disposition. I think the Thor movie kind of, for me, Thor 1 set that up well, because it kind of explains like how and why he is the way he is. Like,
Entitled.
no, he's just been lied to his entire life. Like, he thought he was the son of Odin, and it turns out, like, the favoritism he played to Thor, it's deeper than Thor being the firstborn. It is basically because he's not even Asgardian. Like, he's a frost giant.
and he technically accepts that and just decides, like in Thor 3, he kind of just, I'm not the son of Odin. I have no throne to protect at this point. I'm just going to live it up. And that's what I enjoyed in Thor 3. I wasn't a big fan of Thor Ragnarok. It was a beautiful film, but plot wise, I felt like it was a little substanceless. But
Me too. Yeah.
I enjoyed.
I told y'all I fell asleep on that, right?
You didn't, but I'm not surprised. But yeah, I enjoyed Loki in that film. Like, his parts were my favorite part of the film.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's the god of mischief, so like he's got to be mischievous, and that's what he is. Like,
Yeah.
you're never really going to get a sense of where his loyalties lie, because that's just a portrayal of character, and that to me isn't like
He's a backstab.
yeah, you just know, but you know what he's going to be, so it's kind of like,
He's fun to watch.
yeah,
He's also
entertaining.
casted very well.
yeah, and like he's not gonna he does have limits. Like he ain't gonna do like he does love Thor. You get a sense of that. Like he does care for him to some degree. That they fight, but he ain't gonna take it. But so far, he ain't gonna take it so far. That's what I get from Loki anyway. And that the dynamic between him and Thor.
He'll leave him for dead, but he won't kill him.
Yeah, he'll set him up, but it's kind of like he knows.
That is not the dodge.
He knows. Thor would be all right.
I was happy to see Wunmi Masaku in the trailer. She played Ruby in Lovecraft Country. She was in the background a little bit, but I know I saw her. I'm excited to see her. And then
What's her character?
I don't know. No idea. But I do know that I saw a scroll. But in the trailer, in the scene where I thought I saw the scroll, I think she was in it too. So she might not be a scroll. But regardless, we're going to see some scrolls in the show, and that's exciting. So I am.
We'll for sure see some. I don't think that's. I think that's without question that we're going to, because of where it takes place. And I think I feel like every property that we get prior to Secret Invasion is going to have a scroll appearance in some form or fashion.
Definitely. I'm excited to see the tone of this one. It looks a lot darker than the previous one. So I don't know. Hopefully it's a little bit more gritty, if that makes sense. I'm looking forward to that. But also Marvel can't make a film without humor right now, so I'm sure there'll be a little bit of that in there, or maybe even more so because we're dealing with Loki.
Yeah, there's going to be levity in it for sure, but I think it's going to set, for the most part, it's going to set the tone for Phase 5 and 6. I think this property, as well as every Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki. We'll see how Hawkeye is. But definitely Spider-Man and Multiverse of Madness are really going to set the stage for Phase 4 or Phase 5 and 6. Because now we're introducing the time travel element and exploring that way more than we have in any of the other properties thus far with Loki. Like time travel is going to be a big aspect of that entire property. And it's going to set up a lot of what we see in the Multiverse of Madness, probably as well as No Way Home. And I'm glad that the show kind of addresses what happens because in Endgame, when he took the Tesseract and just disappeared, I was like, yo, they got to explain that, because like they just kind of went, all right, well, we got to go back in time to find another time when the stone was on Earth. And I'm like, bro, Loki just escaped. Like that version of him, that wasn't supposed to happen. Like y'all just destroyed the timeline. So I'm glad the series is addressing that, because like I was like I picked that up instantly. I'm like, there's no way you're not going to address that, because that's crazy.
Is he going to die at the end of it, you think?
From what I understand, no.
Oh, okay.
No.
I don't see a way of him not dying. I mean, in the real original timeline, he dies. So the only way to fix that is for him to die.
Like what's the plot of the show is him fixing the timeline branches that he messed up, right?
Yeah.
That version of Loki messed up.
Oh, okay. Not like the better Loki that
okay, so you notice on the back of his on the jumpsuit in that trailer, on his back it said variant.
Mm-hmm.
He's just a Loki variant
that needs to die.
So like we're probably going to see other variant Lokis in this series.
I'm a little confused on how they're going to make that look, because if technically he zapped himself away, then
I feel like he's the only variant.
That's what the
Lokis.
That's what the TVA is. The Time Variant Authority, like they deal with variants, and like so anytime anyone messes up timelines like this, like they say in the trailer, like what makes you think that this one is so different?
Yeah, I feel like they'll do what they did in Endgame, where like you go into a time and you try not to interfere with stuff to make it right, you know. So
Well,
they
he's
may have Loki
technically
doing
going
that.
into a time and he's fixing stuff. Like, yo, this
Yeah.
broke. You got to go back and fix it.
So he might cross paths with his past self, but that doesn't technically mean that's like another variant Loki. You know.
I'm not gonna lie, the time travel stuff has consistently confused me. So I think I'm gonna wait until I see the show and hopefully I get some answers. And if I get no answers, y'all will hear me complain about that on Fridays.
Yeah, it's the branch timeline stuff. Like the Sorcerer Supreme was talking about it when they took the stone in the first place. Like because when it's those variants of time. So hypothetically, every decision or indecision that any character in the Marvel universe has ever made has created a variant of themselves where they did the opposite of that reaction, and we're probably going to see that in some form or fashion.
Also, since he didn't come back, Cap probably jacked up the time too.
He very much messed up the
How?
timeline.
Who's addressing that?
TVA
Because at
is
the
going to
end of
have to address
Endgame,
that as
Captain
well.
America didn't return. For those
They
who
not
don't know what I'm
addressing
talking about, and he decided to go back in time and live out his life. But
Yeah, that was
that's
just
not
for Cap to have his perfect ending. They ain't touching that. That's done. That book is shut.
well, they kind of have to now because they have to address the Isaiah stuff, the Isaiah Bradley stuff. So they have no choice.
Exactly.
They-
That might
they
be
have-
more for Isaiah Bradley though. You know,
Huh?
like that might be more for Isaiah.
It will be
not-
for him, but it would still touch on what he did in that time because it might be the fact that Cap. I wouldn't be surprised if they spin it that because Cap went back in time that they were able to make an Isaiah Bradley. And Cap got to see what happened to Isaiah Bradley, and that's why he gave the shield to Sam.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
there's a possibility that
possible.
Cap and Isaiah were alive at the same time. Well, it's not a possibility; it's facts. They were alive at the same
It's
time.
a different version of Cap. Like they were definitely alive at the same time. Like, but that version of Captain America was not supposed to be
There.
where he was and existing in the timeline that he did. He even
But
had
Isaiah
a life.
came before Cap. Like he was Cap before
No,
Cap.
it was after. It was during the Korean War, and Cap was Cap during the World War II. Like they created that program happened after Cap crashed into the ice.
I thought they used Isaiah, and that was like the trial run. They got all the kinks out. Then when they perfected it, they gave it to Cap.
No, they were trying to recreate the serum
They were trying to recreate it
that
because
they
they
lost
lost
when
it.
Cap and the German scientists were killed, and they experimented on the African Americans to create it. And Isaiah was the one that they perfected it on, and then they sent him to Korea to fight the Winter Soldier, and the rest is history. But Steve Rogers was not supposed to be around during that timeline, and because he went back and lived out his life from 1945 until 2016 or whenever 2018, whenever Endgame takes place, he kind of none of that was supposed to happen. None of that was supposed to happen. So that opens up the door for them to explore that.
Yeah, it definitely creates an opportunity.
Plus that the shield that he gave him, because the shield that Cap used in Endgame was destroyed during the fight. Like that shield broke, and somehow he gave Falcon a brand new shield. So like, I mean, all that creates branch timelines that like none of that was supposed to happen, because that shield is supposed to be a one-off vibranium shield. How did he get another one? And what is that shield made out of? Because the shield that he used got destroyed in that movie.
What?
Which
It was
movie?
destroyed? Endgame?
In Endgame.
Yes. Well, if he goes back in time, he might have taken his shield from a different time for all we know.
But that still messes up the timeline.
Well, it
'Cause
messes up the timeline that Loki leaves in
That's
Avengers
what I'm saying.
1.
Like, they can't not address that, because like you literally gave. How did you get a shield? Because that shield is supposed to be made of vibranium, and it's supposed to be a one-off because they weren't able to get any more from Wakanda. Like that's why he had that shield for as long as he did. So that shield being destroyed, and then him going back in time and living out his life, and then bringing Sam a basically a brand new version of that shield. Like, you just created a branch timeline.
He went to Wakanda and had it made.
Either way, none of that was supposed to happen. Like,
They gonna show him at
TVA has to
Wakanda
address
watch.
that. Yeah, like TVA has to. That's what the TVA is for. Like, they're supposed to fix stuff like that. So like all that
But
has to be addressed.
His contract is up, right? And he's not on for anymore, right?
Steve Rogers, well, not Steve Rogers, but what's his name?
There's too many Chris's. It's not Pratt. It's not Pine.
Chris Stokely.
No. Why did I count a finger off? Let me just pull up the cast.
Captain America actor. Cool. Christopher Robert Evans.
According to
Yeah, Chris
Wikipedia,
Evans.
Christopher
Okay.
Robert Evans is
why
an
did I bring
American
up Evans?
actor,
But yeah.
best known for his role as Captain America in the Marvel Cinematic Universe series of films.
Thank you, Siri.
Thank you, Siri. Wait, you got an iPhone?
Nope, this is a Galaxy. I don't know who that was. That was
I was about
Jessica.
to say, them
Oh,
text message
Jessica.
bubbles are definitely green in the group chat. I was like, wait a minute. All right. Anywho, I'm excited to watch the show. And I look forward to having more confused timeline conversations. And what's that, June? They said June 11th?
June 11th. Second weekend. Well, second Friday in June, I believe.
June 2nd is my birthday.
Hey.
Word. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that series more so than I was. I mean, that trailer really sold me on it more than anything.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, man. So what's this new show on Netflix?
It's not a show, it's a movie, Concrete Cowboy. I watched it last week and I actually would like to watch it again. It's starring Idris Elba. Let me pull it up real fast. Concrete Cowboy. It's about cowboys in Philadelphia.
Okay.
Actually,
in the city.
Why did I make an assumption that was in Texas?
Because people aren't used to seeing cowboys in Philly, but that's a real thing. It's something I didn't even know about. But people have horses in Philly, and as time has gone by, the amount of stables are getting reduced. You know, people are knocking them down to build buildings, you know, for gentrification. So this story is about a man and his son. Well, it's really, the story follows Caleb McLaughlin, who is the black boy from Stranger Things. He's the main character in this film, and he's spending time with his father, who is a cowboy in Philly. So you get to see, you know, the struggle that they have within their own relationship. But Caleb starts to work in the stables and is spending time with the horses and experiencing that. And you get to see how these cowboys, the conditions that they're forced for their animals to live in, and the relationship that they have with the community. I don't want to give it away because it's a great film, but it's absolutely worth the watch. There's actually real cowboys from Philly starring in the film. Not everybody is an actor. These are real people. These are their real horses in the film. It's really dope. And it's a piece of Black history I didn't know. I actually watched it with my grandmother last week, and she was telling me about how she was riding horses in Philly when she was young. And I was like, well, first of all, ma'am, what were you doing out there? Saying, like, why don't I know about this stuff? So
yeah. I had a neighbor that had a horse tied up outside an apartment complex near a tree. This was in the city of Greensboro, off Ranneman Road.
So basically, what they're talking about or touching on a little bit in the movie is that Black people had horses. What we didn't have is land. You know, they took a lot of the land away, or we gave it away, but a lot of Black people didn't, you know, lose their cowboy culture. They didn't lose their horses. So that's what this story is about.
That's what's up. How is it an inspiring story? It's an inspiring story. You don't see much Black pain. There is a little bit of gang violence in it, but you will
you'll leave inspired to do research. Like I got on Google afterwards. This was something that I had. This is a real story. Like the after the film ends and they're running the credits, they're interviewing some of the real cowboys from Philly who also starred in this film, and they're telling their stories about what it was like, when they were younger versus what it's like now, and how they want to bring the culture back. So it's just a piece of Black history that I didn't know I was missing.
Some of the first cowboys were Black.
Right. So I would recommend that y'all watch it. We can even do a review on it. We could talk about it on next week's show. But definitely, please check that out. It is worth the watch, and I want to watch it again. It's definitely worth watching again and again and again. It's a great film.
Yeah, I'll probably check that out tomorrow for sure.
Definitely worth watching.
But yeah, so last topic before we get into the community discussion. Godzilla vs. Kong.
Godzilla is the #1 movie of the pandemic. No matter how you felt about it, it just is what it is. People went out to the movies. Not only did it perform very well in China, but it performed well in the United States. It made $60 million in 2 weeks. That's a big deal in theaters, and that's a big deal for the pandemic.
For sure.
I mean, that premise alone is a #1 idea, like Godzilla versus Kong. You're not gonna beat that.
Yeah, people are gonna see that for sure. Sure.
They're gonna watch it. But that movie was hot trash.
It could have been executed better, but I like to see what the second week numbers are. But yes, I can see how it was such a success during the pandemic because it had a lot of hype around it. It is blockbuster to JBM's point. Like, who's not going to want to see that? Like, if you've seen or know anything about either of those legendary monsters, kaiju, then of course you're going to be interested in this movie. Even if you may have seen the previous Godzilla movies and the Kong movie, or maybe just one or the other, you're going to be interested in watching this. Like the action sequences and the trailers alone were just like enough to get anybody, I think, who likes action and this type of story interested in watching it. So like, I'm not surprised by the first week numbers. I am kind of sort of surprised by how many people actually went to the theater to watch it. But I would I'm curious about how these second week numbers are going to look.
I'm going to honestly say that I'm not surprised at how many people went to the theater, because I've been saying on this show all year that I was not going to the movies, and I went to the movies to see it. So
it's a theater movie, man.
It's a theater movie, and yeah, because of this vaccine just existing, a lot of people are already acting like COVID's not a real thing. So yeah, they're going to the movies now.
I mean, that was before.
And I am social distancing, but I am also one of these people at the movie theater. But shout out to AMC for providing wipes and social distancing seats out. You could only buy if you bought your seat or a group of seats, the seats next to you are blocked off, or depending on the type of theater you were in, they might block off more seats. And yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
Brazil's getting hit hard with COVID. I think they're getting like 4,000 deaths a day.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the numbers aren't really. They're fluctuating for sure, like globally, just in general.
Some new variants
you
coming.
You still got to be safe. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but hey, look, man, people have been living on the edge ever since the thing happened in the first place. So I shouldn't say I'm surprised at all. Like, I got no evidence to the contrary that people would have done the opposite. So. Yeah, now I think second thought, I'm not surprised at the numbers of people going to the theaters, especially given the fact there's a vaccine now. And even people who hadn't taken the vaccine probably feel safer going to the theaters because they know people are taking the vaccine. I don't know how people rationalize stuff, but hey.
I'll be getting my second shot in a couple of weeks, but I'll still be social distancing. You can't just act a fool just because you got vaccinated.
Facts.
And the numbers in young people it's got an uptick.
Yeah. Stay safe, people. Please stay far away from each other. Don't touch anyone. Wash your hands. It's crazy that you got to tell people to do that. Wash your hands, okay? If people were washing hands like they were supposed to in the first place, things wouldn't be this bad.
Yeah, man. Wash your hands. Keep hand soap in the bathroom.
Yes. Hot soapy water. You can sing the thong song. Very easy. That's one of the songs you can
What?
sing to clean your hands. You know, like to
That
do
is
the full
wild.
amount of time, they were releasing a whole bunch of songs to sing to make sure that you're washing your hands for the proper amount of time. One of them was the thong song. That's what I've been singing. Make sure I get my full length in. You know what I'm saying? Sing the thong song. You be good. Shout out to Cisco. I think he was trending this week for some reason.
That's like some...
That's-
Yo.
all right.
Oh man.
Anywho, let's get into this community discussion.
What is the community?
Okay.
Discussion?
So I said that during the month of April, by the end of the month, Gumbo would have its full list, a ranking of the best superhero films. I have now realized that this is a ginormous undertaking and it's going to take more than just the month of April. But before we can even start to judge these movies or rank them, we have to define what a superhero film is. Because that's what we were struggling with just having the conversation last week. So what are the parameters for what qualifies as a superhero film?
Like all the main superhero movies.
So just Marvel and DC?
Marvel and DC, yeah. Marvel and DC, like we're gonna include Spawn? I don't think so.
Why not?
Why wouldn't we?
That's the question that we have to answer. Like, why is Spawn not a superhero film then?
I feel like Spawn is a comic book movie, not necessarily a superhero movie. When I think of superhero movie, I think of, Ragnarok, Iron Man, Batman, Spiderman, X-Man, Joanna Man.
No.
So
you might be counting out a lot of.
I was about to say, yeah, because I would still classify Spawn as a superhero.
Well, Hancock.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely.
Meteor Man.
I haven't seen it, but if he is saving people, that's what this conversation has to be. We have to define for our list what a superhero film is. Because Coop was mentioning Chronicle last week.
I would
superhero or superpowers. There's a difference.
So, and I wasn't against Chronicle counting, but if we count Chronicle, then there are a bunch of other films that might.
Power Rangers.
I mean, according to dictionary.com, superhero is a benevolent fictional character with superhuman powers. So that would classify a lot
Batman.
of people. That's what I'm saying. So I mean, that would kind of declassify Batman.
No, it wouldn't. His
superpower
is his ability to
it said
create superpowers.
Superhuman power.
His brain.
That would declassify Iron Man too.
Yeah, I would say that. Iron Man got a brain. Superhuman.
Black Widow probably wouldn't count then either.
Yeah, like that. They by that definition, they wouldn't count as
Black Widow counts.
Superheroes.
So then,
Black Widow counts. That's don't disrespect Black Widow like that.
Well,
I'm just saying by this definition, that would exclude them from that list, from that category.
So I asked
Green Arrow.
Are we?
The way he shoots them arrows is benevolent. Like,
are we including people with powers from other films into our list? That's the question at hand.
I would just say all the classic comic book characters. That's what I would say.
Only comic book films?
I would do that.
Coop, how would you feel about
Spawn
that?
would be, Spawn would count. I mean, that.
Yeah, Spawn would count.
Watchmen would count?
Yeah, Watchmen
would count.
Was Hancock a comic?
No.
Yes, it was.
It definitely is a comic book.
The comic book.
Before the movie?
What year did the movie come out?
Google. What year was Hancock released? Stupid. 2008.
Nope. Hancock is based on an original screenplay.
Thank you. I
Written
didn't
in
think it was a
96.
comic.
But it's definitely inspired by comic book characters. But yeah, so if their character origin does not have a
Ties to comic book.
comic book, if it wasn't written first in the comic book, then it wouldn't count as a superhero.
I feel like that's the only way to do it because comics are the reason we have these movies. Like, there's no, like, it's comics.
I mean, you could argue that the ancient
That is. It's
Okay.
comics.
fictional
So then I'll ask
so
you-
like the ancient gods, like the Greek gods and the Roman and like all of the classical gods, they are kind of inspire all of the superheroes, those stories, those epic
Yeah,
tales.
but I mean, that's Greek mythology.
But those characters also appear in both Marvel and DC
In the movies.
in comic books. Zeus is
I know.
definitely in the comic books for Marvel. Like he's a very prominent figure in the Marvel universe.
For who? Which character?
For which character?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Zeus, is he's his own character in a comic?
Yeah. Yes, same version that you know from the Greek mythology is in Marvel.
So they just made a comic about Zeus.
Yes, Olympus is a part of the MCU.
Yes, it is.
Well,
Okay.
not MCU, but as a part of Marvel Comics. And all of the Greek gods live on Olympus, and they have comic book written. I think.
When did they
want to say
make that
his
a
first
thing?
appearance was like in the 70s. It was early, because Zeus. There's a comic book where Zeus comes down and fights the Avengers handedly.
What?
Yes.
Okay, so now here's my thing. Because if we bring comic books specifically into it, and we're talking movies, there are a lot of films that are based on comics that you might not have considered to be in this list, but I think they should be. Kick-Ass is based on a comic book series. Men in Black is based on a comic book series. 300 is based on a comic book series. So how do you feel about that?
Are those superheroes?
I would argue that A Day Was Saved, kind of, in 300. Kick-Ass, they weren't the best, but they were heroes. They would dress like heroes.
You can have like heroic stories, but like superheroes?
Well, we just said that any character that has a comic book origin would count as a superhero. So that would be her
Well,
point.
superheroes with the comic book origin was the thing.
But
like
we're trying to figure out
Kick-Ass,
what we count as a
I don't
superhero.
know. I mean,
and
it
we said
could.
comic books.
I feel like that'd be at the bottom of the list if we do include it.
Because let's just say you only want to include DC and Marvel movies. Well, that don't even sound fun. Although I was going to start with, so my thought was, because we know there were going to be a lot of DC films in this list and a lot of Marvel films in this list, we should rank those separately, then try to bring those two lists together, and then add in everybody else.
Okay. So
Like,
just create a hierarchy.
So
Okay.
what
And never mind. Go ahead.
I'm just thinking, because our problem right now is how are we handling superhero films outside of the MCU and outside of Marvel and DC? It's still a task in itself to rank just the Marvel films and just the DC films, right?
Mhm.
So what if we I feel crazy because we're having this conversation on camera. For those who are watching, we would like you to participate.
These are thousands of
Some
characters, by the way.
some ideas, because we will be having these
understand.
debates on camera, and you all can participate also. But
It's a
what if
thousands.
started with the MCU?
Mm-hmm.
Then other previous Marvel films. Then
Because there are Marvel films that exist outside of the MCU.
right. So, but the MCU has a crazy list in itself. Because I mean, technically, we're going to be doing this during the show, or we'll figure out the timeline for this. But we'll start with the MCU. Then we'll bring in those other Marvel films, right? So we'll have an MCU. We'll have an official Gumbo MCU ranking, then an official Gumbo Marvel ranking of, and these are specifically live action films.
Oh, films, okay.
If we bring in animated films, if we bring in animated films, we're gonna be here forever because Batman has shows. 1 million. Yeah. I wasn't even considering TV shows because we're just doing
so many. Yeah, there's so many that have been done.
Live action films. Unfortunately, we are excluding animation for now, but this is always a list that can be revisited. So we'll start with ranking Marvel MCU. Then we'll bring in the other Marvel films, and we'll have an official Gumbo Marvel film live action film ranking list.
Now, also too, I'm sorry, I got to throw in this caveat. We're also excluding manga.
Yes.
I'm only
because there are a lot of characters that would definitely go toe to toe with a lot of the MCU, like the Marvel and DC characters from manga.
So
and anime, there are a lot of those characters.
Since we're only talking
that's its own thing,
right
though.
now,
like manga is a completely different universe.
But they're still superheroes. By that definition, they're superheroes.
Okay,
you can't tell me Goku's not a superhero, and
I never thought of Goku as a superhero. I just thought of him as a saint.
That is Japanese Superman.
Yeah,
that's all.
That's weird though. I've never thought of any of those anime characters as like superheroes. What? I think superhero. I think of labeled like,
I've always felt like
Thor.
That Goku could definitely fight Superman. I don't know who would win, but he could definitely hold his own.
So what you're describing, Coop, sounds more like a ranking of power. And I think that's another list. This is specifically where we're rating them. We're comparing the films. Like, what's a better film? But I do think that is a conversation that we need to have at another time. I think that's something that we need to revisit. But right now, we're specifically talking about film. We're not saying is Batman better than Superman. We're saying who had the better film.
Yeah,
we're comparing.
I think superpowers are different from superheroes. It's just me though.
So, but I do think who's the most powerful. That's a conversation that we need to have at some point. So we will definitely do that. Oh, there's gonna be some anger.
That's gonna be wild.
That's gonna be wild.
Okay. Also, wait, one more. I was wrong. Zeus was actually he made his first appearance in Marvel Comics in 1949. Him and the Olympians, all basically in the late 40s, made their appearance into Marvel Comics. So it was earlier than I thought.
When did he first appear in DC Comics?
Did he appear in DC Comics?
I mean, Diana is his child.
You're right. May 1944. In Superman number 28.
He was out in Superman. Was Wonder Woman in that particular one? Does it say whether or not Wonder Woman was in it?
Yes. No. I don't know. Now this is confusing. I know he appeared in Superman. It says he just appeared in Superman number 28, 1944. But I don't know if Diana was in that.
She was created in 1940.
She was created in, I see 42. Yeah, okay. So, I mean, it's early. I mean, they've been a part of the mythology of DC and Marvel for many, many, many years. Like they are as old as a lot of I mean, hell, they're older than a lot of the characters that we know. They're older than the X-Men.
I just started thinking about how Joss Whedon jacked her up. I didn't want to
For
touch
real,
on it
bro.
today's episode.
Like, that Whedon cut is horrible, man. Like,
just we talked about it a bit on the Discord. And if you're not on it, I do encourage you to join. Man, Joss Whedon really did her dirty, not just on screen, but behind the scenes, how he treated his cast. I didn't really want to touch on today's episode because we talk about it so much, but it's
hard not to think about. Like when you start talking about Wonder Woman, like it's really hard not to think about like how she was depicted in that film and everything that happened behind the scenes with her. So,
and I don't understand Warner Brothers' position on the film, knowing that, like, y'all still want to keep the Whedon cut as a part of the DCEU, knowing what happened behind the scenes. They're still supporting this film and they're against the Snyder cut after all of this news. Like, I personally would want to move as far away from it as possible. You can't deny that it happened and you can't pretend like it didn't exist, but you can do right by your actors. Coop Daddy Yoda is sending the official definition of a hero, a person who is admired or idealized for courage, outstanding achievements, or noble qualities.
That's a hero, but there's also superhero.
I think we're gonna go with superhero, Coop Daddy Yoda, only because
that's almost everybody. That's almost every fictional character that's ever existed. Like every fictional hero would fall into that definition.
Or nonfiction. I was just thinking the first thing that popped in my head was Sully, the
X-Files
pilot who crash landed on the Hudson River and saved everybody.
Oh,
he's technically a hero, but that's too much.
That's a lot of people.
That's everybody. There's not a lot of movies that don't have heroes nowadays.
Yeah, superhero. Because the superhero definition is different. Because, I mean, really, it's the same thing except for it's just a benevolent person with powers, basically.
Benevolence.
But the actions are the same. They're the same quality person, but they just are enhanced in some way. They have some enhanced qualities about them.
Okay, so back to how we're going to do this. Because it's clear we need to talk more about what qualifies as a hero film. We know that the majority, because I think the only film that I would argue might not count is the Joker film that came out a couple years ago. Like, where does that fall? That's
not a superhero though.
Yeah.
Right.
But so are we including? Okay. But yeah, that's where it is. Like if it's a comic book movie, or are we talking about superheroes and just the heroic characters? Because that would also eliminate Venom.
I mean, he technically saved the day in his movie.
Yeah, he's an anti.
He's technically an
anti-villain.
Anti-villain. Yeah, anti-villain.
I mean, he kills people, but he saves the day when he.
But
I wouldn't classify him as a superhero.
All right.
Just like Punisher is not a superhero. That could be its own thing. Best anti-villains or anti-heroes.
Yeah, Punisher's definitely an anti-hero.
Well, would you count Hancock as an anti-hero? Because he saves, but he's a terrible person.
He's definitely an anti-hero.
Yeah, he's an
Deadpool too?
Deadpool is 100% an anti-hero.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, he's never not been an anti-hero, but he's also a Marvel character. He's also a superpowered individual. He can't die. So
that's true.
Logan kind of sort of teeters on both. Like he isn't.
Logan's a hero. He's just
but he's on that edge though. He's not an anti-hero, but he's not like the most heroic of heroes. He definitely still falls into that category of hero, but he's like the one that's leaning on the fence. He's on the outer edge. I
have the list that T-Rev sent. They did this on a a 24-hour stream it took them to come up with this list. I'll have to reach out to him to find out what his parameters were. But I think a way for us to get it started, because we're not doing a 24-hour stream. We only have the Cookout unless we decide to do another show. So what if we start by ranking the MCU films? I think in one community discussion, we can rank the MCU films. Do y'all think we could do that? Or at least during an episode of the Cookout?
MCU or Marvel?
We're on an episode of the Cookout. We'll just MCU. We'll start there. And then
because the Fantastic Four movies and the Spiderman movies are not a part of the MCU.
I would say all of them.
The X-Men films are not a part of the MCU.
Yeah, they're not
all of that. If it's Marvel, put it in there.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
well, I'm talking about,
but that would be a Marvel conversation. Like, that would not be
that's a long time, right? And we only have the Cookout. So I'm suggesting that we start with the MCU. Let's rank these films during a community discussion. The following week, we can bring in these other films into our list and expand that way. Once we do that, we'll have a complete Marvel list. Put the Marvel list aside.
Question: how many movies are in the MCU? Is it 23? Because wouldn't we need an even number of movies if we're gonna rank them?
If we're just doing the movies,
putting them in a bracket.
Why does it? I wasn't gonna do a bracket.
Okay, no bracket. Okay,
no bracket, because the goal is not to have a winner and say what's the best. Although we will have that, we want to put them in order from best to worst.
Gotcha.
Okay. That's our ranking system. We don't. Yeah, I'm not going to do a bracket for now.
When are we doing this by? April. Okay, because technically, to JBM's point, if we waited until Black Widow came out, that would even it to 24.
I mean, just because, our goal for this is to...
Because that movie technically should have been out.
It should have been out.
We were supposed to see that last summer.
Coop Daddy Yoda would like to know who are the supervillains. That's a lot of people to list.
That's a lot. That's a
lot of people to list. Yeah. And that's the problem that we're having. I wish T-Rev was on so he could tell us what the parameters were. But I think since time is our issue, right? We can't just rank things and talk about it and keep listing of movies because we only have the community discussion during the Cookout. So I say start just ranking the MCU films, then add in the rest of the Marvel films. Boom, that's a Marvel list, finished list. We could put that out, put it to the side. Then we start. There aren't as many DCEU films because that's a newer franchise. Like so 4. I say we start just DC as a whole.
That's like, okay. Oh, gosh. Wait a second. Because that's what. So DCEU is technically Superman, Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, Justice League, Wonder Woman.
You got the old Superman movies.
Those aren't a part of DCEU. We're talking about just the DCEU. Aquaman.
And then Shazam.
Did you say Aquaman?
Aquaman and Shazam, and that's about it. So far. Yeah, I don't.
It's not a lot, so we can
like DC would have to be.
We can do all of DC.
1980. What year was that?
70. Superman DC came out. First one was in 70 something.
Oh, Superman 1. That was what 76.
Do you want to go back that far?
I think that came out the same year as A New
78.
Hope.
Came out 78.
What year did yeah, because that's John Williams was doing. Oof, bro, John Williams was a legend.
Yeah, it's the best Superman, man.
Yeah,
Marlon Brando.
John Williams is the best.
Oh, we can't forget about Green Lantern. And Watchmen will be included in that.
Technically not. Oh yeah, if we do DC as a whole.
We're gonna do DC as a whole because the DC EU itself is short.
Ooh,
so
Green Lantern. Ooh, that's rough.
That's at the bottom.
It's gonna be down there. But I think honestly, I have a feeling there's gonna be a fight for who's at the bottom. There's gonna be a fight for who's at the bottom for both categories.
Yeah.
Because
okay, but see, because a lot of the properties outside of the MCU, if we're talking about Marvel, like Fantastic Four is on the low end, as well as like the last
The
two
newer
X-Men
X-Men,
movies.
but where X2 is easily my favorite X-Men movie.
Yeah, like
Shoot.
that's a tough one
Yeah.
because there's
These
some
all
gems
that
in
bottom.
there. Blade is up there too.
Blade
'Cause
is in
Blade is
there.
definitely Marvel.
Blade is top 10.
There's
Yeah.
3 Blades,
That's what I'm
actually.
saying.
We
That's
gotta
what I'm
rank all
saying.
3 of them.
Oh God, I forgot about the sequels.
So that's why I'm saying
Ooh, I
let's
forgot
start
about
with
them
just the
things.
MCU, because by itself, the MCU is over 20 films.
Can we just group
That's tough,
franchises?
man. That's
You
tough,
know what I
man.
mean? Like the Blade franchise, the Avengers, like 4-part series. No, yes.
I mean, the goal is to end with a complete ranking system. So they have to come together at some point.
Well, all right. So, can we count? Do we count the Avengers movies in that list? Because who's in the Avengers movies that don't appear in any of the solo projects? Like, what characters in the Avengers films are introduced? Hulk Hulk has a solo film.
Why wouldn't you? I mean, if that's the case, then what's the value of the DCEU?
But no, I'm saying because if just stay with me, that's like, so it's what? How many Avengers movies are there? Avengers 1, Ultron 4. It's 4. Never mind, because I was just trying to eliminate. I was trying to get it down to 23, but I forgot. I mean, technically, Infinity War and Endgame are part 1 and 2. But I'm saying like, what characters in the MCU are introduced in the Avengers movies that we don't see in any of the solo projects within the MCU? Because there's a lot of characters that we've already seen. Black Widow's and Iron Man.
Hawkeye. I don't
Hawkeye,
care what
yeah.
anybody says. That's a power.
Loki?
His aim,
He can't miss.
That's not
Loki's in Thor.
he don't miss.
Yeah, he can't miss. It's not that he doesn't miss. He can't miss. Like, what do you say? Shot 18, played 18, shot 18.
Got tired playing golf.
So yeah, that ain't it. Oh, but yeah, I guess he is the only one that appears in the Avengers that we don't see prior. He's not in any of these. Yeah, he's not in a solo movie.
Vision.
Vision is created in Ultron. So yeah, okay, never mind.
Solo movie, but we got to count those. We can't exclude
Scarlet
them.
Witch.
Yeah, she doesn't have a
Quicksilver.
Quicksilver is technically an X-Men.
Found and dead in the same
technically
movie.
an X-Men.
Well, yeah, Scarlet Witch then.
Scarlet Witch, yeah, for sure. So Ultron, Vision and Scarlet Witch introduced in Age of Ultron, for sure.
Green Arrow.
So yeah.
I mean, not Green Arrow.
Hawkeye.
Debunked.
All right.
Debunked.
What was that about? That whole thing? What were we trying to do?
I was just saying that if the Avengers movies didn't actually introduce any new characters, then we don't technically have to count them. But I forgot that Infinity War and Endgame count their separate movies, because to me it's just one big epic. Part 1 and part 2. So like, so you're saying like, if we eliminate 3 movies, that gets us down to 20. But because there are characters introduced in the Avengers movies that we don't see prior to the Avengers movies, then we have to include them. Because everyone else pretty much is introduced in either a solo project of like Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, the Hulk. Like, all those have solo projects, and a lot of them have cameos from characters that we see in the Avengers. Minus Hawkeye.
Are you saying the only reason for counting the Avengers movies is because they introduced Vision and Scarlet Witch?
Yes. By my logic, yeah, because that was my logic behind it. I'm like, if they don't introduce any new characters, it's just all the characters that we've seen in their solo projects appear on screen together for the first time.
Well, then that's like saying the sequels don't count.
Yeah, but they're all their own story. So,
but I'm saying from the character standpoint,
I don't follow you, sir.
That's like, I think in comparison,
I follow you, but I don't follow you, sir.
If we're going by your logic, then the Iron Man sequels don't count. It's only Iron Man 1 that's valuable being judged, because you've already seen him in that movie. Now you're seeing him again in the second movie. Like, what's the difference?
Yeah, it goes back to the question I posed about just judging the franchises themselves. Iron Man franchise, Thor franchise, Avengers franchise, blah blah.
Well, my thought was that's a quick conversation.
Yeah.
We know which Thor is the best, even though we don't really like them as a whole. Well, let me not speak for y'all, for me, but we know like that's a quick 2-second conversation, and the end goal is to get a full ranking of superhero films.
Yeah.
So
the individual.
As far as like time goes, it would be easy in one episode to rank the MCU. And those who are watching, please let me know if I make sense. We wanted y'all to participate.
Forgot about Guardians of the Galaxy too. I forgot about them.
I didn't. I know exactly. I know where Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is going. I know that.
It's like mentally, I didn't include that.
Where is that going? Is that
Trash?
You didn't like that, huh?
No.
Oh man.
Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is going right where that Thor trilogy is going. Well, no, because I think Guardians of the Galaxy 2 might be my least favorite film in the MCU.
Thor 1 was pretty dull. Like I don't even remember Thor 2. And 3, I fell asleep, so that's
I think Thor.
Some people said put Thor 2 at the bottom and go from there.
Yeah, Thor 2 is the worst for me. Like
Thor 2 is below Fantastic Four.
Well, Fantastic.
I'm talking about within the Thor franchise. Like I would say 1, 3, and 2 in that order, from best to worst.
I don't think I disagree with that.
Because two was like, at least 3 was very entertaining, and there were moments where I laughed and I enjoyed watching the movie. 2 was just like, I don't understand why this is so dark and dull. Like that was a depressing movie. It wasn't depressing. It was just there was no excitement in that movie whatsoever. Nothing stands out. That movie. That is one of the dullest movies I have ever seen.
I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen Dark World? It's
on Disney Plus. Go ahead, check that out.
Speaking of Disney Plus, man, Earth to Ned, I need y'all to watch that.
I keep forgetting. I'll check it out. I'll put that on today. I got you. I will watch that today. All right. This is it. We'll figure the rest out when we figure out the rest out. Next week, community discussion. Gumbo Crew will be ranking the MCU films from best to worst. It's happening here, okay?
Anchovies.
Yeah, we're gonna have to have an extended community discussion for that. So we'll probably have fewer topics in the top hour for next week's stream. We won't say we won't have any, but they'll definitely be fewer, because this is going to be quite an interesting discussion, because I got to pull out the list. There was technically wasn't there an Avengers movie that came out in the 70s?
What?
There's an old Avengers movie where they had, because what's his name? It wasn't Hulk
I gotta
Hogan.
see this.
Well,
I gotta see the
Hogan.
costumes. This is hilarious.
It was, you can look it up, like the Iron Man costume.
Avengers
Boy, that
movie
thing right there
from the
is crazy.
70s.
I think it was the 70s.
Come on now,
old.
Google.
Meet the
Avengers
70s Avengers that
from
never
the
were.
70s.
Oh, the movie never came out? I know I saw.
It's a TV Avengers. Yeah.
Yes, bro. Do you see Iron Man?
It's Lou Ferrigno.
Is it kind of? Oh wow.
You see Iron Man, yo. That is a crazy.
There was
thing.
a Captain America TV movie that came out in 1979.
Bro, the Iron Man.
See, they had the original Hulk right there.
Hey, Iron
We
Man
got
look like a character from Among Us.
Oh no. I gotta see this.
Shout out to Among Us. I heard they got a new map.
Yeah, that's Hulk.
Oh, look at Moonir.
Oh, that means no, bro. All right, who said that? He said put Thor 2. The uncle said put Thor 2 at the bottom and go from there. I have to strongly disagree with you on that, because the worst Marvel movie
Yo, Iron Man look
MCU.
crazy, man. Y'all saw
Oh, in the
that?
MCU.
This is the MC. Yeah, he's talking about the MCU conversation.
Yeah, okay, in the MCU,
Hey,
yeah.
Black
I
Widow,
can't
look at
disagree
that.
with that.
Marvel, I'm sorry, I just don't see how that
Yo.
newest Fantastic Four is not at the bottom. What would you rather watch?
Iron Man looks
Do you-
crazy. He do look like Among Us.
In Marvel, okay, so in Marvel in general, Marvel.
Marvel in general, Marvel.
That
live
first
action
Hulk
film.
movie that came out in the early 2000s,
I'm watching that 1,000 times
crazy.
before
That-
I watch. Yo, when was the last
that
time?
movie is close to 3 hours.
Yo,
The movie
I'm
with
telling you,
That
go
first Hulk movie,
back
not
and
the
watch.
not the Chris was it Norton? Edward
Norton.
Norton. Not that Hulk movie. I'm talking about the
Mark
first one from the
Ruffalo.
early 2000s. The first
Oh no,
Early
with the
2000s
guy
Hulk.
the guy from Troy.
Yes. That is the worst Marvel movie. You can't. There's nothing. I will never watch that movie again.
Yeah, that movie is torture.
2003, Incredible, the Hulk.
Yes, that one.
movie is
Not the Incredible
slow.
Hulk. The Hulk.
Yeah.
That movie is. Awful.
Oh,
That movie
Nah,
is
rewarding.
I
garbage.
forgot about this.
That's your brain wants you to forget that one because that's how bad that is. You don't even want to talk about it. You suppress it from your memory.
Oh, he's green.
Your
Sorry,
screen
y'all. I
screen.
can't show you.
I'm like, why is he purple?
I can't show you. I can't
That is the worst Marvel movie that has ever existed. That's one of the worst superhero movies of all time. I think he doesn't even transform into the Hulk until like an hour 40 into the movie or something crazy like that.
It's not.
I'm
It's
not
not
gonna hold
it's
you,
just,
though.
It's
That
just a
might be-
boring. It's just a boring movie.
Bro,
You know what I
the
mean? It's
Hulk-
not like the story was horrible. Like the story was good. It's just a boring movie. It's like you don't. There's nothing entertaining about that.
Bro, we
that
don't
movie.
need a sob story about the Hulk. Like this is like that's my argument with the monster movies. Like, bro, I need Hulk smashing.
Yeah.
And it took you an hour and 40 minutes to give me that. Like, nah. Nah, dog.
Yeah.
The movie's horrible. Garbage. Get it out of here. There's
straight
nothing.
garbage. Hot
I'll watch
garbage.
anything. I'll watch any of the Marvel movies.
No,
Yes,
this
that
dude.
one. Yes, that one. That awful.
I forgot
Garbage.
about this. I'm gonna try to find it and rewatch it. I'm gonna
Garbage.
rewatch it because I saw Fantastic Four recently, and I'll rewatch this and I'll report back on the Discord.
Yes, that movie was horrible. It's atrocious. I would definitely like to hear if you can watch it before next week because you gotta.
Atrocious. Is it worse than Kong and Godzilla?
Oh my goodness! I watched Kong and Godzilla 4 or 5 times in a row before I watched that.
Is it worse than Wonder Woman 1984?
Yes,
I don't believe you.
yes.
I don't
I'll
believe
watch
you.
1984 again before I watch that movie.
The 1984 is better than the Fantastic Four, the most recent Fantastic Four.
Oh, really?
Yes,
I haven't seen the most recent.
I rewatched it. It's off.
I
First
can
of all,
agree with that.
it took an hour for them to go to outer space and get their powers in the first place. Like that, the freaking science
They did the same thing that they did with the Hulk movie.
Yes,
Like it was like, why, we know this story. Like, let's get to it. Like, come on now. Like, what is this? What is this slow drag? Like, we're not here for this. Like, because I remember the marketing and the advertising for the movie. It was nothing but him like breaking stuff and being the Hulk. And then you get there and you watch that movie, and it doesn't happen till like almost 2 hours into the movie.
Yeah.
And you're like, I cannot believe I wasted my time. Like, what is this? That movie's got to be the lowest ranked Marvel movie, like on Rotten Tomatoes. Like, it's got to be atrocious, whatever the Rotten Tomatoes score is. It's got to be. It's got to be.
There is a list out there for it. It's toward the bottom. It's definitely toward the bottom.
I remember
has
when
a
this movie came out,
62% on Rotten Tomatoes.
because of this movie, people doubted the success of superhero movies. They didn't think that it would ever work. Like, it set the MCU back a couple years because of how bad it was. They were like, "Yo, this might not be it, y'all."
Oh, Coming to America got a 49% on Rotten Tomatoes. Dang.
50-50, I can see people being split on that movie though. I
enjoyed
can
it.
kind of see people being split on it.
It's it's crazy. They have it ranked 49, but it's still trending though. It's on their top 5 list of most watched movies right now. and it's on there. So clearly, y'all know what I'm talking about.
I can see. What's the audience score? Is the question though, because I mean, I can see
The
that
audience
movie
score is a 40. It's lower than the tomato meter.
Yeah, tomato meter is like 60, right?
No, the tomato meter is
49.
49%. Coming to America 2, out of 233 critic reviews, they gave it a 49%. The audience score has over 2,500 ratings, and it's 40%.
Yeah, I mean the movie wasn't that.
Dang.
It was. What?
I can't. It's hard to argue with it. I mean, the 50% makes sense to me. 40 is like but I can see why it's a 40%. Like I can't make a strong argument.
No, they're saying the SpongeBob movie is better. The SpongeBob movie has a better tomato meter score and the audience score. Dang.
Well,
I mean, it's hard to. I don't know. I didn't see the SpongeBob movie. I didn't know. I'd imagine that it's like. I'd imagine that movie it's hard to mess up
the cast.
What? Oh, Coming to America. Can we take this on? Am I sharing this? Who's sharing this?
The cast. I think that's one of y'all.
Oh, what am I supposed to do?
The Hulk. Yeah. The Hulk's still on screen. Like.
Oh, sorry. I got him out of there.
Okay, but yeah, I mean, I'm good. Y'all, this is a good episode. We think we got a good plan for next week. I'm looking forward to this discussion. I hope you watch the 2003 Hulk film because I really want to know if you're going to rank that above the Fantastic Four. I really need to know this.
Just know it's slow. It's super slow. It's not exciting.
I mean, I could say the same exact thing for. In fact, when I watched Fantastic Four, I'm not gonna hold y'all. I got sick of it, and I sped up about 45 minutes so that I could actually get to the action. It took a full hour before they went into that other dimension and got them powers or space wherever they went. Because they don't in this movie, they don't even know where they went. They just went somewhere. They have no idea where they went.
Yeah, and Josh Trank, I also believe, suffered the same type of fate that that Snyder had with the movie. Because from what I understand, he had a very, very, very different direction and cut for the movie than what was released theatrically, and there was a lot of studio interference. Like so much so that he thought about quit like directing. Like he stopped doing big budget films and went back to like small like projects because he did Chronicle. JBM, you hadn't seen Chronicle, but like. If you watch
I think
Chronicle,
I saw a little bit of that.
If you
it's
watch
like a
Chronicle,
group of friends, right?
Yeah, and they get like the story is I like the story, and it came out before Fantastic Four did, and people were like, "Yo, this Fantastic Four movie, like he could really do something with this," and then we got what we got, and people were like, "What happened?" Because and then it started, the rumors started getting out about the studio and their involvement, and their interference with everything. People were like, "Yeah, we believe it," because. Had Chronicle not come out, we would be like, he probably just didn't know what he was doing. But the studio said he couldn't handle the pressure of like a big budget film, and he was like, that is complete garbage. Like my version of this film was way different than what y'all forced me to cut together. So
white shirts, bro, them execs.
Yeah, man, they can make some horrible decisions. So
I
almost ended his career, but anyway, so we got a Marvel discussion to look forward to next weekend.
Yes,
8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on this channel, also on Twitch and Facebook, because we will be broadcasting from all three platforms going forward. Tomorrow, Star Wars Sunday, we got a lot of exciting new developments on the Star Wars front. Got Skywalker Academy being trademarked by Lucasfilm. We got the
I'm still mad about that.
Legacy of the Legends Heir to the Empire Thrawn trilogy giving a almost like a soft reboot, recommission. This is now being moved into the Essential Legends Guide. There's some implication as to why they're doing that. I'm going to talk about all of that tomorrow on the stream, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure you join me for that discussion. I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited we're getting some more Star Wars news now. It's that time. And of course, Bad Batch is right around the corner. But that's it on that. And next Friday, once again, we'll have another review at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So be sure to tune in for that as well. Imani, where can they find us on social?
Please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch at Certified Gumbo. If you love our channel, if you love what we do, please support us by buying us some coffee. The link is in the description bar below, and it is in the chat on all 3 platforms. If you love us, if you enjoyed the conversation and you would love to converse with us a little bit more, we talk about this stuff all day, every day on Discord. So please join us on Discord. That link is also in the description bar below. Did I miss anything?
Nope.
Try to watch Concrete Cowboy because I think you love it. It's a great movie to watch with your family, but you can watch it by yourself. You can watch it on a date. It's just an adult movie.
I might watch it.
Idris Elba and Caleb McLaughlin, and I'm gonna check out Earth to Ned.
Yes, go check that out, y'all.
And I'm going to watch this Hulk movie because I don't remember it at all.
It's very telling of that movie.
Yeah,
but
prepare yourself to fast forward.
I can't because I don't remember anything. So maybe watching it will bring something back. But I knew I could fast forward through Fantastic Four because I knew. But enough about me. Good night, y'all.
Yes. As always say, peace, love, blessings, and may the force be with you. Always.
Peace.